Welcome to Wisdom Planet. Wisdom worth spreading. Happy listening. The book discussed today is called Success and Luck, with the subtitle, Good Fortune and the Myth of Meritocracy. The author of this book is Robert Frank, a professor of economics at Cornell University, who writes an economics column for the New York Times. You may also be familiar with his other book, The Economic Naturalist. Like a god in the best-selling introductory economics books, this book is also a divine presence. The reason for recommending this book, Success and Luck, to everyone, is because it helps you clearly define a fundamental question that we have long debated, whether success is based on talent, effort, or luck. Specifically, this book discusses the following 5 viewpoints. First, at key junctures in early life, good luck has a significant amplifying effect on subsequent success, and this luck effect can continue to accumulate. Secondly, it is now an era where the winner takes all. A slight initial advantage leads to the ultimate winner taking it all, and this slight advantage is often based on luck. Thirdly, people always attribute success to strong abilities and failure to bad luck. This kind of optimism is necessary when success has not been achieved, but it is no longer needed once success has been attained. Fourth, luck leads to winners taking all and a significant income gap, which results in people comparing themselves to each other excessively. Fifth, a person who acknowledges their own bad luck naturally won't try to steal credit from others, so collaborators will trust them. Let's take a look first. At key early stages in life, good luck has a significant amplifying effect on subsequent success, and this luck effect can continue to accumulate. People who enjoy reading books on success and motivation have definitely heard of Charlie Munger, who is Warren Buffett's right-hand man and an outstanding investor in his own right. At the same time, he is a low-key individual who loves reading. Many of Munger's words are worth quoting as famous quotes, and we will also quote a passage. The safest way to get what you want is to make yourself deserving of it. This sentence is certainly said by a senior expert to ambitious and studious young people, but if you think about it carefully, it actually speaks to the aspirations of countless successful individuals, which I am worthy of. Therefore, the most suitable occasion for this sentence to appear is when a journalist interviews you and asks about your secret to success. You can then confidently quote this famous saying by Munger. But if your success is particularly great and you want to make the interview more exciting, you can try another style of speaking the truth. Fans of American TV series know about a show called Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad has a director named Vince Gilligan. Gilligan once gave an interview to GQ magazine, and the reporter asked him, "What is the secret to your success?" He said something more interesting than what Munger said. Have you ever had this experience? Crumpling a piece of paper into a ball, not aiming at all, casually throwing it into a distant trash can, and it goes right in. The next time you try to do the same, aiming precisely and putting in all your effort, but it just won't go in. We put in all our efforts to make this drama. Everyone gave their all. We wanted it to be the best TV drama that humans could achieve. But do you know what? The crew of the neighboring drama, Dad Knows Best, was equally dedicated. So why did our drama have to be the one to achieve great success? I really want to know why, so that next time, I have a chance to strive in the television industry again. But to be honest, if this film can succeed, I'm already secretly happy. He said that the experience of success is called luck. The society we are in now, whether it is the United States or other countries, is generally an elite society. This means that people can rely on talent and hard work to strive for wealth and status, rather than having everything determined by their family background as in history. Elite is a much better word than aristocracy. This is a good era of selecting the capable and the talented. However, Frank also said that if you think the reason why elites are successful is solely because of their talent and hard work, plus making rational and correct choices at critical moments in life, you are wrong. Success is largely due to luck, especially in modern society. Frank cited many examples, including his own life experiences, as well as some results from systematic studies, to illustrate the importance of luck in success. In summary, there are approximately 3 principles to the pattern of personal luck, which we can refer to as luck dynamics. Assuming there are 2 individuals, A and B, with identical talents, levels of effort, and levels of knowledge, but A's luck is slightly better than B's, let's say about 5% better. So, the question is, over time, how much higher will A's personal income be compared to B's? Is it also 5%? That would be completely wrong. A more reasonable answer is likely to be 500%, or even higher. Human society is a nonlinear complex system, which means that a slight improvement in initial conditions can lead to disproportionately large differences in the final outcomes. For example, consider a pair of exceptionally talented twin sisters. On the day of the college entrance examination, the younger sister performs well while the older sister, unfortunately, underperforms due to a cold. 20 years later, it is possible that the younger sister may receive a Nobel Prize in chemistry, while the older sister may work as a factory laborer. You may wonder, couldn't the older sister retake the exam the following year? Yes, there is a second chance and even more opportunities for the college entrance examination. However, some opportunities are extremely rare, such as becoming an actor. The example Frank gave is about the actor Al Pacino, who starred in a movie called The Godfather. Pacino has starred in countless great films, and people today might think of him as a natural-born leading actor. It's hard to imagine a parallel universe without Pacino. However, Pacino's ability to get the role of the Godfather was purely due to luck. Firstly, at that time, Pacino was just an unknown third-line actor. Secondly, the producers originally wanted to cast a famous actor for the role of Michael, but director Coppola insisted on using a newcomer. Thirdly, Coppola himself was a newcomer, a young director in his 30s, daring to challenge the producers in such a way and succeeding, which is rare. Fourthly, the producers' choices for several famous actors were unavailable, so they had to compromise. Fifthly, the director wanted to find a newcomer, who looked like a Sicilian, and Pacino happened to be a perfect fit. Lastly, in the original novel, the character of Michael didn't have such an important role, but the director changed the script, making Pacino almost the main star of the entire film. You see, how many newcomers can hope for such an opportunity? If it weren't for The Godfather, would Pacino still be the Pacino we know today? I remembered an anecdote I saw somewhere. People say Brad Pitt is handsome and has good acting skills, but a film mogul said, there are 20 guys as handsome as Pitt just walking around the streets of Los Angeles. They just didn't have the same luck. In the early stages of life, at key milestones, good luck has such a significant amplifying effect, and this is not an exception, but rather a large-scale statistical effect. In Canada, 40% of professional ice hockey players are born in January, February, and March, while only 10% are born in October, November, and December. Why is that? It's because when they were children and participated in youth hockey team selections, they were grouped by age, and those born earlier in the year had a full year of physical advantage within the same age group. Hockey uses January 1st as the cutoff date, while children start school in September. Therefore, children born in the summer become the youngest in their class when they start school, which puts them at a disadvantage. Older children have been subtly influenced by leadership from an early age. That's why the number of CEOs in American companies born in June and July is 1/3 lower than the average. Frank talked about many of his life experiences in the book, which, in my opinion, are nothing short of legendary. It can be said that he had a series of good luck in order to obtain the position of a professor of economics at Cornell University. It was only because of this position that he had the opportunity to conduct so many interesting research projects and write numerous columns. It was through these accomplishments that we are able to see this book of his. He even faced the threat of death twice, but it was only through highly unlikely coincidences that he managed to turn danger into safety. However, Frank is clearly not the luckiest person in the world, Bill Gates is. Let's take a look at how luck played a role in Gates' early career. 1. Gates happened to be born in 1955. If he had been born a few years later, he would have missed the first wave of personal computers in his youth. If he had been born a few years earlier, he would have been too old. 2. Gates came from a good family, and even better, he attended a private high school that was the only one in the United States at the time to provide students with free, unlimited access to computer terminals that could display calculation results in real time. Most high schools did not have this condition, or instant feedback computer terminals. Young Gates would not have been able to practice programming skills so well without this opportunity. 3. When Gates dropped out of school to start his own business, it happened to coincide with IBM's need for an operating system for personal computers. 4. IBM originally intended to buy an operating system from another company, but by chance, the deal fell through. 5. Gates' company attempted to acquire an existing operating system called QDOS. The person from the other company didn't understand its value and sold it to them for only $50,000. Based on this, Gates developed MS-DOS, which became his first bucket of gold as the future world's richest person. Even if any of the above is not true, Gates would still never become the richest person in the world. This kind of luck is like flipping a coin 20 times and getting heads every time. You might say that the probability of this happening is too small. How is it possible? Indeed, it is difficult for any specific individual to achieve this. However, with so many people on Earth, there is bound to be someone for whom it happens. It's like winning the lottery, the chances are very slim, but someone always wins. Of course, we are not saying that Gates' success is solely based on luck. Talent and hard work are also important. What we are saying is that in certain fields, talent and hard work alone are not enough. Furthermore, it is worth noting that the more intense the competition, the more important luck becomes. The Global High School Baseball League has a total of 15,000 teams, with 450,000 high school students playing baseball. Every year, 140,000 high school students are eligible to participate in the selection for professional teams, but only 1,500 are ultimately chosen. However, in the United States Major League Baseball, there are only 30 teams in total, and each team can only register 25 players. So, how many positions can be provided to these 1,500 newcomers each year? So, some education experts say that life is a marathon, and we shouldn't worry about whether children can win at the starting line. I dare say that they definitely don't have children who are professional athletes. In fiercely competitive sports like professional sports, where the elimination rate is extremely high, you not only have to win at the starting line, but you also have to keep winning continuously in order to have a chance to even participate in formal competitions. Maybe your child plays basketball as well as the neighbor's child, or even better, but due to a very random reason, if they are not selected in one tryout, they may not have another chance. The reason is very simple: there are too many skilled individuals. Frank introduced a computer simulation experiment. Assuming there is a competition where talent and effort account for 95% of the determining factors for victory, and luck only accounts for 5%, guess who will ultimately win? The result is that as long as there are enough participants, the ultimate winners are those with exceptionally good luck. This is because there are enough experts in the competition, and their talent and effort values are very high. So, what do these people compete against? Of course, it is luck. And this is how professional sports competitions are today. Without talent and effort, one cannot even step onto the field. Frank has compiled a total of 8 world records for the sprinting event, including 7 achieved with tailwind and 1 achieved with no wind, none of them against the wind. The saying that opportunity favors the prepared mind is certainly good, but the reality is that there are too many prepared minds and too few opportunities. If you can achieve remarkable success in a field solely based on talent and effort, it can only mean that the field is not popular enough to attract many others with similar talent and effort as you. Furthermore, isn't talent also a form of luck? Let's not forget that intelligence is primarily inherited. If a field doesn't even require talent and only effort leads to achievements, it can only mean that the field is very low-key. Therefore, from this perspective, Frank's book is actually written for the fortunate ones. We don't necessarily have to participate in such high-level competition, but gaining an understanding of what that competition is like can also be interesting and may not be entirely useless. The above is the first viewpoint, the importance of luck in success. Let's take a look below. Now is an era where the winner takes all. A small initial advantage creates the ultimate winner, and this small advantage is usually based on luck. We mentioned a question earlier: if 2 people, A and B, have the same level of skill. Now let's change the question. If there are 2 types of products, A and B, with the same characteristics, and A's performance and price combined are 50% higher than B's, then how much higher will A's sales be compared to B's? The answer is not 5% or 500%, but A will dominate the entire market, and B will be eliminated. Because today's market is a winner-takes-all market, people understood this as early as the 19th century. The more developed the transportation, the greater the advantage of good products. For example, pianos. Initially, every place had a piano factory. Some made good pianos, some didn't. Even if they didn't make good pianos, they could still survive, because even if out-of-town manufacturers made better ones, they couldn't sell them here due to expensive shipping costs. However, as transportation became more and more developed and shipping costs decreased, good pianos would occupy an increasingly larger market, even the entire market. This situation is known as winner-takes-all. Frank had previously collaborated with someone named Philip Cook on a book called Winner Takes All Society as early as 1995. The core idea of that book is that technological progress can accelerate the diffusion of good products, leading to a market dominated by a few large companies and the elimination of local small factories. They examined many fields, from tires to entertainment stars, and found the same situation. The decrease in shipping costs is just one aspect. More importantly, the most valuable part of many products is not their weight, but the ideas they carry. How much value does a record itself have? The real value lies in its content, and the marginal cost of duplicating the content is basically zero. As shipping costs continue to decrease and the things to be shipped become lighter and lighter, they can even be downloaded instantly from the internet, making it easier and easier to spread good things. This is only one-sided dissemination, and if we consider the feedback from consumers, the situation becomes dramatic. Frank calls this effect the network effect. For example, Windows and Mac were once evenly matched in the past. Windows had good compatibility, but Mac had a better user experience. It seemed difficult for either to dominate the other. However, it was very easy for one to dominate the other. Perhaps Microsoft made the right strategic move, or perhaps it was purely due to some accidental reason. From a certain point in time, the number of Windows users slightly exceeded that of Mac users. Because of this, software companies prioritized developing new software for Windows. As a result, there were more software options available for Windows users, leading to more users choosing Windows. This is a positive feedback loop, where having more users leads to even more users. Once this effect is triggered, it becomes an avalanche-like process, and the market quickly falls into Microsoft's hands in a very short period of time. A similar example is the battle between Betamax and VHS video cassette formats. Sony's Betamax had better image quality, making it particularly suitable for home recording. However, it could only record for 60 minutes. VHS had poorer image quality, but was more suitable for recording television programs, as one tape could record an entire movie. Which one do you think is better? The reality was that once more users chose VHS, video rental stores had to lean towards VHS, leading to more people buying VHS recorders. With positive feedback, Betamax quickly fell out of favor. In the case of Blu-ray DVD versus HD DVD, history repeated itself, except this time Sony had the last laugh. Positive feedback is a terrifying force, but it is also a very unreliable force. To dominate, you only need to accumulate a small advantage, but behind this small advantage, there are too many random factors. For example, how to publish a best-selling book. Frank said it would be best if the author of this book had previously published a best-selling book, establishing a positive feedback loop with readers. If the author is not well known, then one would have to rely on media promotion. For instance, getting a good book review from the New York Times. However, the risk is that reviewers have different tastes, and a good book may not immediately receive a favorable review. You mentioned finding someone to help with publicity, but wouldn't other books also be promoted? Therefore, igniting this fire of positive feedback is not so easy. So, shouldn't those who have already gained an advantage feel fortunate? Good people are not products, and cannot be easily replicated. Otherwise, the majority of people would be unemployed. Even so, the income gap between individuals continues to widen. Frank said that in a winner-takes-all market, there are two characteristics of personal income. First, your absolute strength is not important. What matters is your relative strength compared to your opponents. For example, as old tennis fans know, there was a female tennis star in the 1990s named Steffi Graf. Graf's level remained consistently at the level of the world's top players throughout the 90s, but her income reached its highest point in the 12 months after April 1993. The level was the same, but her income suddenly increased dramatically. What's the reason for this? It's simply because Monica Sales, who was ranked number 1 in the world at the time, was forced to take a 12-month break due to being stabbed by a fan, and the entire stage was given to Graf. Secondly, only a few people can earn high income. Many people may not know that the market for classical music is very large now, with sales reaching an all-time high. However, only a very small number of musicians actually profit from this market, and the majority of classical musicians do not make money. Let's assume there are two musicians, A and B, whose levels are not significantly different. If you let ordinary listeners do a blind test, they wouldn't be able to tell the difference. However, once music critics reach a consensus that A is of a higher level, B is eliminated. A can sign contracts for performances worth 7 figures, while B may only be able to become an elementary school music teacher. Can you name 4 male opera singers? If we have to go to the theater to listen to music, we would need many singers. But in the era of recordings and the internet, perhaps 4 male opera singers are already too many. More than a decade ago, Chris Anderson proposed a long-tail theory, stating that with the emergence of the internet, various niche cultural products would also have a market, weakening the winner-takes-all situation. However, Frank examined sales data from various fields since 1995 and found that the long-tail effect did not materialize. Instead, the best-selling items are now even more popular, while the unpopular ones are even less so. This is probably because no matter how much technology advances, consumers only have a limited amount of time and energy. People can only choose popular movies and best-selling books, and good things are becoming easier to spread. With a fixed number of positions available, this means that the winner-takes-all situation and income inequality will become increasingly severe. Many people say that the increasing income gap among Americans is due to job outsourcing and automation, both of which may have an impact. However, Frank believes that the more important reason is the winner-takes-all situation brought about by technological advancements. It is important to note that not only is the income gap widening between the lower and upper classes, but also between individuals within the upper class. Nowadays, even dentists are experiencing a decline in income, while the superstar dentists thrive. In the 1980s, the average income of CEOs was 42 times that of ordinary workers. Now, CEOs earn 400 times more. Is this because CEOs are becoming more greedy? In the past, CEOs were promoted from within the company, and their salaries were determined through internal negotiations. However, since the 1990s, CEOs have been able to move across companies and even industries, creating an open market for CEOs. This change was exemplified by the legendary CEO Louis Gerstner at IBM, who previously worked in the tobacco industry. What is talent mobility? This is called talent mobility. This era of mobility is an era where the winners take all. The era of winners taking all is an era of increasingly fierce competition, and where individual abilities are becoming more and more important. If you can outperform everyone else in a certain field, perhaps your income will be many times higher than everyone else's. Therefore, it is also an era where luck is becoming more and more useful. This is the second viewpoint, the era of winner takes all, which indicates that luck is becoming more and more useful. The point to be discussed next is, people always attribute success to strong abilities, while attributing failure to bad luck. This kind of optimism is necessary if one has not yet succeeded. If one has already succeeded, it is no longer needed. Of course, a person's destiny depends on their own efforts, but one must also consider the formation of history, and the completely random and uncontrollable luck. Earlier, we mentioned that luck is extremely important in high-level competition. It can be said that those who are particularly successful in the world are also people with particularly good luck. I feel that the main purpose of Frank's book is to be read by people who are lucky. He wants to teach these people how to correctly understand luck, as he believes it will be beneficial for everyone. So how do most people treat luck? And how should we treat luck if we want to be wise? Let's start with a true story. This happened in Spain. Someone went to a lottery station to buy a ticket and insisted on choosing a number with the ending 48. Maybe at that time, the technology was not advanced enough to have computer-generated numbers or on-site printing. He could only search through the available tickets repeatedly. Finally, he managed to find a ticket with the ending 48 and bought it. A few days later, he won the jackpot. When asked about the secret to his win, he said, "Of course, there is a secret. Choosing 48 was following the will of heaven. I had dreams of the number 7 for 7 consecutive days, and 7 multiplied by 7 equals 48. You see, that's how people are. They always manage to find reasons for their achievements, even if it seems like a joke to others. Buying lottery tickets is a very interesting activity, and people always want to believe that winning the lottery follows a pattern. Even on a reputable website like Cena, there are dedicated columns analyzing the trends and patterns of lottery numbers. Some people take great pleasure in discussing these analyses, as if winning is the result of thorough research. We may mock those who study the trends of lottery numbers, but let's not forget that luck plays a role in almost every success. We see many stock traders and risk investors who, once they succeed, attribute it to their unique insight and extensive research, rarely mentioning or even acknowledging the role of luck. They attribute their success solely to their own abilities, which makes us feel good about ourselves. It's just human nature. Someone has conducted an experiment in which a group of depressed patients were gathered together to complete tasks of varying difficulty. After completing the tasks, they were asked to evaluate their own performance. The results showed that the depressed patients' self-assessment of their abilities matched the observations of the experimenters, indicating that they were able to objectively evaluate their own abilities. There was also a control group in the experiment, consisting of normal individuals who also evaluated themselves, and were compared to the observations of the experimenters. The results revealed that if the normal individuals performed well in the tasks, they would overestimate the importance of their abilities, while if they performed poorly, they would underestimate the role of their abilities. When we say someone is depressed, it may mean that they experience emotions when they are able to soberly recognize the truth of life, and these emotions can be quite distressing. Therefore, we, as normal individuals, use our own methods to deceive ourselves as we navigate through life. This optimistic spirit may lead us to take risks we shouldn't take and experience failures we shouldn't experience. But it's not the fault of normal people. It's not easy to reach the state of depression, and there is a psychological effect behind it called the availability heuristic. When people make judgments, they always rely on the first experiences and information they receive. For example, if you have made a great achievement after a lot of effort, when you look back on that experience, the most unforgettable thing for you must be the effort you put into it, while easily overlooking external factors. Even if you felt very lucky at the time, as time passes, you tend to forget. So after a while, even you yourself will believe that success is the result of your own efforts. Frank gave an example. When you ride a bicycle, you may encounter headwinds and tailwinds. If you are riding against the wind, you will feel very tired and remember the direction of the wind. But if you have a tailwind, you are more likely to overlook the wind conditions. That's why when we search on Google for headwind, we can find many images of people riding against the wind, but when we search for tailwind, there are not many pictures. People tend to remember the effort they put in when facing adversity, but forget the luck they had when things went smoothly. Besides preventing depression, there are other benefits to this. High-level competition requires us to give our all, plus some luck. If you want to get into a good university, you have to start working hard from a young age, invest a lot of time and even money, and there's still no guarantee of success. But if you don't put in enough effort, you definitely won't get in. In this situation, should parents tell their children that hard work leads to success? Or should they be realistic and say that even with hard work, success is not guaranteed? Of course, it's important to emphasize positive energy and not believe in superstitions. Motivate yourself to work hard and maybe there will be an opportunity in the future. However, from a life strategy perspective, positive energy is not something that everyone can afford. In life, there are fast strategies and slow strategies. If a person's environment is constantly changing and luck plays a significant role, their future circumstances may not be better than the present. In that case, they should indeed adopt a fast strategy and enjoy the present moment. Only when you are in a stable environment and have some certainty about the future, can you afford to adopt a slow strategy and delay gratification. Therefore, strictly speaking, ignoring the element of luck is not feasible. We recently discussed the differences between liberal and conservative political ideologies. In general, liberals tend to believe in the role of luck, suggesting that many people's unfortunate circumstances are a result of bad luck, and that the government has a responsibility to assist them. On the other hand, conservatives place more emphasis on individual effort and believe in its effectiveness. So as individuals, how should we really view this issue? In the 2012 US presidential election, it was the Democratic Party's Obama against the Republican Party's Romney. At that time, someone wrote a letter to David Brooks, a columnist for the New York Times, saying this: Obama often says that Americans are able to live prosperous lives because of the social and political forces in the United States, and he thanks the country for that. Romney, on the other hand, believes that a person's ability to strive for wealth is closely related to their cultural traditions, and he thanks cultural traditions for that. But I always feel that I am able to live the life I have today because of my own hard work. How do you view this issue? How much of my achievements should be attributed to my own efforts, and how much should be attributed to the influence of external circumstances? Brooks gave a very beautiful answer. He said, "How you see this question actually depends on whether you look forward or backward. If you want to plan for the future, you should believe that the future is within your control. As long as you put in the effort, there will be rewards, even if it's just an illusion, you should believe in it. Only then can you give it your all. But if you have already achieved success, when looking back on the past, you should realize that what you have gained exceeds what you deserve, and you should feel grateful for it. As an ambitious achiever, you may think that you deserve every achievement you have made. However, as a person in this world, you should know that it's complete nonsense. Without the support of the external environment, you would not have achieved what you have today." Brooks said that looking at this issue from different perspectives will lead to different conclusions, and these conclusions are actually all correct. This also confirms the famous quote by American writer F. Scott Fitzgerald, "The test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two opposed ideas in mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function." This is the third viewpoint of the book, Success and Luck, and it discusses how we should perceive the role of luck in life. Now let's take a look at luck leads to winners taking all, resulting in a significant income gap and intense comparison among people. Now that we understand this basic fact, it is very fortunate that a small number of people can earn income many times higher than others in a winner-takes-all market condition. This largely explains why the wealth gap widens as technology advances. Why have housing prices in the United States been rising over the past 30 years? From 1980 until now, the median household income in the United States has not only failed to grow, but has actually slightly decreased, currently standing at around $60,000. This is a very, very important fact about the United States that brings about a series of economic and social problems. The beneficiaries of the past few decades of economic growth in the United States have been only the wealthy. However, the housing space for middle-class American families has expanded by 50% compared to the past. This is a very interesting situation, where income has not increased, but the size of the house has. This additional space is not given for free. Frank himself calculated that in 1970, an average income person renting an average house needed to work 42 hours per month to afford the rent. Today, it requires 100 hours of work. By this calculation, the proportion of housing expenses to Americans' income has doubled. However, even so, housing prices are a huge burden for Americans. To what extent is the burden of property? Divorce rates are rising, as the distance between where people live and work increases, the time spent commuting increases, and personal bankruptcy rates are also on the rise. Having a bigger house has not made ordinary Americans happier. Incomes are not increasing, but the cost of housing is rising, and this phenomenon cannot be explained by traditional economics. However, there is a phenomenon that is very similar to it, the cost of weddings. Calculated in today's comparable prices, the average cost of a wedding in the United States in 1980 was about $11,000, while in 2014, it was $30,000. Now, in the Manhattan area of New York, the average cost of a wedding can even reach $76,000. So, as wedding costs continue to rise, does it have any positive impact on the quality of marriage? No. Economists have even found statistically that couples who spend more on their weddings are actually more likely to get divorced in the future. The reason for this is quite simple, it is about comparison. People pursue two types of status: the status of their own tribe relative to other tribes, and their personal status relative to others. A person's sense of happiness in life is largely determined not by their absolute material level, but by comparing themselves to those around them. Frank has an observation. the greater the income gap, the more intense people's comparison with each other becomes. As mentioned earlier, in the past 2 or 3 decades in the United States, it was actually only the wealthy who experienced real income growth. So why do ordinary people feel the need to live in bigger houses? There is a principle at play here, which Frank refers to as expenditure cascading. First of all, after the increase in income of the wealthy, they naturally want to live in bigger houses. Nowadays, it is considered standard for a house to be large enough to hold a wedding, which requires having a ballroom. As the houses of the wealthy become larger, the similar wealthy groups within their social circle will also be influenced and will seek bigger houses, luxurious decorations, and more expensive appliances, such as sub-zero refrigerators. When the upper middle class, who have connections with the similar wealthy, see this, they will also improve their own houses. This process is like a waterfall, where consumer habits are transmitted from one layer to another. The wealthy lead the fashion, and other social classes gradually follow suit. In fact, not only housing and weddings, but even the standards for birthday parties are also increasing. Nowadays, it has become almost standard for the children of the average middle class in the United States to have a professional magician perform at their birthday parties. And if you don't keep up with the comparisons, it's not acceptable. If people in your social class are all moving to bigger houses, you must also move, because if you don't, your child won't be able to attend the good school district that corresponds to your social class. This is a very helpless situation. It's like watching a game in a stadium. Originally, everyone was sitting down, but when there is an exciting moment, some spectators can't help but stand up to watch, and then the spectators behind them have no choice but to stand up as well. The end result is that everyone is standing. However, when everyone is standing, the size of everyone's field of vision is the same as when everyone was sitting. If we had known this, why bother standing up? Darwin noticed this phenomenon long ago, where individuals within a population engage in an arms race to compete for relative status, which sometimes proves detrimental to the overall population. For example, the antlers of American deer are a result of this competition. Antlers are weapons used by male deer to fight each other, and for an individual male deer, bigger antlers are definitely better, as they are necessary to defeat competitors and secure more mating opportunities to pass on their genes. However, antlers are useless against wolves, and deer can only run when they encounter them. Moreover, excessively large and heavy antlers can slow down deer's running speed in the forest, making them a burden. Due to the presence of wolves, there is an upper limit to the size of deer antlers, but overall, deer do not need antlers that large. The best solution would be for all male deer to come together and hold a disarmament meeting, collectively reducing the size of their antlers by half. This way, the population as a whole would have a better chance of survival, and the relative status of each male deer could remain unchanged. Of course, deer cannot hold meetings, but humans can. The key proposal of Frank's book is that we reduce unnecessary expenses caused by comparison and invest that money into infrastructure development. This will not change everyone's relative social status, but it can benefit everyone. His suggestion is tax reform. Most countries now adopt progressive income tax, which means that the higher your income, the higher your marginal tax rate. In recent years, the marginal tax rates in the United States have actually been decreasing, and the wealthy can also enjoy various tax benefits. Frank proposed abandoning progressive income tax and switching to progressive consumption tax. The specific approach is that when filing taxes, everyone still calculates their total income first, but then calculates their total savings for the year. Income minus savings is considered as your consumption for the year, and the government levies taxes based on the amount of consumption. Frank calculates that for the middle class, the amount of taxes they need to pay is actually similar under both tax systems. However, for the wealthy, the new tax system can collect more taxes from their high consumption while also encouraging savings. This provides the government with funds for infrastructure construction and education. Moreover, this tax system does not affect the relative status of the wealthy. In reality, the luxury items that the wealthy compete for are not necessarily brand name products or handbags, but rather limited quantity items such as ocean view houses. There is only a limited coastline available for building ocean view houses, and only a limited number of people can live in them. No matter how much money you spend, this fact cannot be changed. Even if the new tax system forces everyone to lower their offer for a sea view house, the same group of people will still be able to live in one. The key is that when everyone spends less money, the effect of you as an individual spending less money is different. If others don't reduce their expenses, but you do, you will find that your quality of life significantly decreases. However, if everyone reduces their expenses, your relative standard of living doesn't decrease, and you can still afford a sea view house. Frank's suggestion has gained support from some economists, but it may not be achievable in the short term. Frank's suggestion has an implicit assumption that investment leads to economic growth. However, some economists now examine historical records and believe that it is actually consumption that drives economic growth. I doubt that this progressive consumption tax could lead to a decrease in everyone's consumption level, which would be a huge blow to the economy. This issue remains questionable. In conclusion, Frank believes that there is a golden opportunity now. Due to excessive comparison and wastefulness, if we allocate this portion of money to infrastructure development, it would be the solution with the lowest pain and the best effect. Regardless of whether this progressive consumption tax is feasible or not, I believe Frank is right on several fundamental issues. Which ones? Let's take a look. Your success has a factor of luck, and you should be grateful to the country and society. Moreover, the widening wealth gap is a major problem. Additionally, the fortunate ones have a responsibility to further contribute to society. The above is the fourth viewpoint. Finally, let's take a look at the last point of this book, acknowledging that luck favors cooperation. Someone who acknowledges luck will naturally not try to steal credit from others, which will make collaborators trust them. Arrogance may be a human instinct when it comes to success. There is a famous money-sharing experiment that you may have seen elsewhere. What does it say? It says that the experiment involves two people, A and B, who do not know each other, sharing a sum of money, for example, 100 yuan. The rules are as follows. A decides how to divide the money, and B decides whether to accept A's distribution plan. If B accepts, then both can take the money and leave. If B does not accept, then it is all for nothing, and neither person gets any money. If A and B are both purely rational economic agents, then A's division should be to give themselves 99 yuan, while B only keeps 1 yuan, because for B, having 1 yuan is better than having nothing at all. However, based on the results of experiments conducted worldwide, A's division is usually equal, with each person receiving half, because A knows that if they give less to B, B is likely to prefer not to take any money at all. And A's concern is valid, as practice has shown that B will indeed refuse. Money can be rejected, but fairness cannot be compromised, as it has already deeply ingrained in people's minds. But the interesting thing about this experiment is that you can make various changes and measure human nature from different aspects. Frank talked about a variation of the money-sharing experiment. Before dividing the money, A and B are asked to solve a problem. In the middle of a large screen, there is a line with many red dots on both sides. It is difficult to determine the number of dots at a glance. A and B are asked to judge which side has more red dots, and then the experimenter will tell them whose answer is correct. The mechanism of this experiment is that the experimenter announces that A and B's correctness is actually random and has no connection to their actual answers. It will be interesting to divide the money after completing this question. If the experimenter announces that A answered correctly and B answered incorrectly, then when A distributes the money, they will keep most of it for themselves and give very little to B. Moreover, B will accept this distribution plan without any objection. The experimenter never mentioned that this money was a reward for answering the question correctly, but naturally, both individuals assume that if they succeed, they can proudly take more, and if they fail, they automatically accept their fate without resistance. If the experimenter announces that both individuals answered correctly, A's distribution method is to split it equally. However, if the experimenter says that A answered incorrectly and B answered correctly, A will voluntarily give a little more to B, but the difference in the amount is much smaller compared to the situation where A is wrong and B is right. Isn't this how the world works? Wall Street tycoons invest and succeed, so it's only natural for them to receive large bonuses. When they play their way into a financial crisis, they rely on the government to bail them out. Not only do these people win the game, but they also directly influence national policies and have the power to distribute wealth. If you want to enjoy long-lasting good luck and move from one success to another, you must learn to be wealthy without arrogance. Frank said that it is not enough to rely solely on one's talent and efforts to succeed in one's career. It is necessary to collaborate with others, and the best way to do so is by joining an elite team. Whether or not others are willing to cooperate with you is not only based on your talent and efforts, but also on your ability to uphold the collective interests. In other words, it depends on whether or not you can refrain from cheating. Frank conducted an experiment where he gathered 3 strangers together and allowed them to communicate with each other for 30 minutes. Afterward, he separated them and had each person play a game individually. In the game, if any person cheated, the other 2 would never know. At the same time, researchers conducted a questionnaire survey to determine which of the other 2 people were more likely to cheat. The findings showed that if one person exhibited cheating behavior, there was a 60% chance that others could predict in advance that they would cheat. In other words, with just a short 30-minute interaction, we can have a good understanding of whether a stranger is likely to cheat. How can you tell? Obviously, it's mainly based on temperament. So, if you want to collaborate with others, it's best to have a good temperament. How do you cultivate this temperament? Frank says the best way is to acknowledge that luck plays a role in your success, and not attribute all the credit to yourself. Someone who acknowledges luck will naturally not steal others' credit, and collaborators will trust them. Frank himself conducted an experiment where he fabricated a journalist interview with a fictional renowned scientist. This scientist had invented a new drug that achieved great success. There were 2 versions of this interview, both of which portrayed the scientist as a carefree and impolite person, with the only difference being the final paragraph. In the luck version, the scientist said that although our team put in tremendous effort, luck also played a role, and he mentioned a few lucky incidents. In the ability version, the scientist only mentioned the team's significant efforts, particularly emphasizing his own crucial contribution that made the new drug possible. Frank randomly gave the participants these 2 versions of the interview to read, and asked them 2 questions. 1. If you were the CEO of a large company, would you be willing to hire this scientist as your vice president? 2. If this scientist were your neighbor, would it be possible for you to become good friends? The results are predictable. The luck version has a better effect, and interestingly, for the first question, the higher the educational level of the participants, the more inclined they are to hire the scientist because of luck. In particular, Frank also tested a group of MBA students with this experiment, and these students were very receptive to the luck version. Therefore, for high-level collaborators, acknowledging the factor of luck can actually give them an advantage. Someone conducted such an experiment, randomly dividing the participants into 3 groups and asking them to keep a diary for the next 10 weeks, recording different events each day. The first group recorded events that made them feel grateful, the second group recorded events that made them feel angry, and the third group recorded any event that had an impact on them. After 10 weeks, the experimenters found that the members of the gratitude group became noticeably more optimistic, their level of happiness increased, and their overall health was better than the other two groups. During these 10 weeks, the frequency of doctor visits for the gratitude group was significantly lower than the other two groups. This is definitely a result that can be included in the chicken soup for the soul, showing the great benefits of gratitude. Moreover, this research is not isolated, as Frank also introduced several other studies. One of these studies involved having participants who had not expressed gratitude before write a thank you letter to someone they felt they should be grateful to, and the results were also very positive. A series of similar experiments all indicate that gratitude can reduce anxiety, make people less prone to anger, improve sleep quality, and make them more empathetic towards others. Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg has also had similar behaviors. Every year, he sets himself a new challenge. For example, in 2010, he learned Chinese. In 2011, he only ate animals he killed himself. In 2012, he started coding again, and so on. His self-challenge for 2014 was to write a thank you note to someone every day. We don't know if these gratitude notes have any benefits for the recipients, but according to research results, this behavior definitely benefits Mark Zuckerberg himself. Finally, let's bring some positive energy. Frank's book is mainly written for the fortunate ones. His purpose is to persuade successful people not to be greedy and take all the benefits for themselves. It would be better if they could leave a little for others and give back to society. Frank gave an example. Would you rather take all the benefits you can get and have your own Ferrari, but have to drive it on a bumpy road due to poor public infrastructure? Or would you prefer to take a little less and buy a Porsche that can contribute to a smooth and beautiful public road? The Porsche 911 Turbo is half the price of the Ferrari F12 Berlinetta, but it is still a good car that can showcase your status. This book, Success and Luck, is now complete. Let us now review the main points of the entire book for you. Firstly, at crucial early stages in life, good luck has a significant amplifying effect on subsequent success, and this luck effect can continue to accumulate. Secondly, it is now an era where the winner takes all. A slight initial advantage often leads to the ultimate winner taking everything, and this slight advantage is usually based on luck. Thirdly, people always attribute success to strong abilities, while attributing failure to bad luck. This kind of optimism is necessary when success has not been achieved, but it is no longer needed once success has been attained. The fourth one is that luck leads to winners taking all, resulting in a large income gap, which causes people to compare themselves with each other. The last one is that a person who acknowledges luck naturally will not steal others' credit, so collaborators will trust him. The above is the essence of this book's content. Congratulations on finishing another book. Thank you for your support. Please subscribe to our Wisdom Planet audiobook channel. Like and share it with family and friends. Wisdom worth spreading and opening up a better future. Thank you and see you again.